You are Locked On Chargers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the Locked On Chargers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007. He is Kenyon Barner, 9 years in the league, 3 rings, and supporting a 10-0 Oregon football today. That's got to feel good. Number 1. That's living large right there. Just like the Chargers were today, 3 in a row, 27-17 over the Titans. I didn't really ever think this game was going to go the way of the Titans, although I thought they fared pretty well at times in the first half. I predicted a 14-point Charger win, so I was off once again, 27-17, but a really nice game on the ground for them. So we're going to talk about that. The defense was true to form and a balanced attack that finally came together in the second half. So we'll get into all of those things. But I think the biggest stat that I think Charger fans have to feel really good about, other than the win, is Herbie now 7 straight games without an interception. How about that?
There we go. That's what we need. You can't win the game without the ball. So for him to be taking care of the ball, scoring touchdowns, and his offense moving the way that it did this game, and the defense stepping up the way that they did, this was a great game for the Chargers.
Nice to see Gus Edwards back in there. I thought he had a very good game leading the ground attack, 10 carries, 55 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 15 for 50. Justin Herbert, 9 carries for 32 yards. I think that's the best I've ever seen him run the ball.
Listen, we got to come up with, I start calling him the bone collector, the way he was out there collecting ankles. That boy was breaking ankles left and right. It was crazy. I said, okay, Herbie, I see you with the moves.
Yeah, he seemed determined today to make it happen. I was looking up his numbers because when I talk to the guys at Kansas City every week about the Chargers on their Chiefs pregame show, they always want to talk about the kind of the lack of numbers that Herbie has this year thus far, because he's not putting up the kind of numbers that we're used to seeing from him. Right. He's 22nd in yards in the league at 1965. He is 2265 or something right around there. His completion percentage is number 19 in the league at 65%. That's where I got the 1965. Couldn't read my own writing. And his best ranking in the quarterback category is at quarterback rating, which is number 10 in the league at 101. But as far as just the sheer stats, he's not putting up the kind of yards that he normally has, and his completion percentage is down a little bit. But, you look at the overall numbers today, 14 of 18, 164. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I think those are good numbers. And I think we as Charger fans just have to get comfortable with a different Justin Herbert, don't you think?
Yeah, and you also have, this is the first year with Greg, so there's an adjustment period that probably needs to be made, but he'll get it together. We'll see Herbie. Herbie will be Herbie when he needs to be, but for right now, it's working. The job is getting done, so nothing to be worried about, nothing to complain about. As long as you're winning football games, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I looked at this one from a receiving perspective, and I was kind of like, just a bizarre, weird, not what you would expect. I thought and again, maybe this, I wanted to ask you this specific question. Do you think it was the game plan? What the heck? The game plan to keep these guys kind of... Sorry. Do you think it was the game plan to keep these guys kind of hidden, if you will, to the second quarter, because Quentin Johnston showed up in the third, Josh Palmer showed up, Ladd McConkey showed up in the fourth. We didn't see a lot of them at all in the first half. He was throwing the ball to Will Dissly most of the time. But, and again, you look at the total output, Ladd McConkey, 2 targets, 2 catches. Quentin Johnston, 2 targets, 2 catches, and a touchdown. Josh Palmer, 2 targets, 1 catch. Will Dissly, 6 targets, 5 catches. So I don't know if they were throwing Will Dissly out there maybe as a decoy, and then keeping Ladd McConkey and Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston kind of hidden a little bit. What was your read on the game plan with regard to the receivers today?
I don't know if it was so much the game plan. I think Herbie was just taking what they were giving him. Sometimes at the quarterback position, that's what you have to do in order to keep your offense in a game and in order to score points. So I don't know how much of it was actually game plan. I just think it was exactly that, him taking what was there for him to take, and once it opened up for those other guys, he delivered the ball to him.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of there wasn't, he wasn't throwing the ball out. Again, 14 of 18. No. I really felt like today was about running the ball. And yeah, that's a good point, that it did feel a lot like that's what the Titans were giving them. Again, I didn't have a lot of faith that the Titans would have an opportunity to win this game, but I thought they acquitted themselves well on defense. They held the Chargers at key times in the first half, especially quite a few times. I started a little hash mark tally of bad looks for the Chargers on third down, and I got at least 3, if not 4. But at the end of the day, their third down efficiency was 4 of 9, which is a pretty good efficiency. But there were in the first half, and again,
2 of 7.
Yeah, some of it could be attributed to the Titans defense. I thought they did a pretty good job of holding the Chargers in check, but there was some, the first couple of red zone appearances for the Chargers, just bad play calling, or maybe it's not bad. I just think it's way too conservative, but that's what you have to expect from Greg Roman, right?
To a certain extent. You don't have to be as conservative, but I also think it came down to execution as well. Even though the play calling was conservative, you still got to go out and execute what's being called. And as players, you got to take it upon yourself to go out there, make the play work. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And today in that red zone area, a couple of times, it just didn't work out, especially on those the first 2 possessions with the field goals. Just a couple of plays kind of stalled those drives. But if those plays work, I think it was the first possession, Hayden Hurst had the drop pass, which I believe probably would have been a touchdown, but that stalled that drive. So I think it's just kind of where the game was playing out a little bit.
Yeah, but at the same time, on the other side of that coin, it's a nice way to start the game, right? A 12-play drive that eats a bunch of time marching down the field. That was kind of like, all right, this is good, even though it ended up being not a lot. But I feel like the Chargers have this massive, the number 1 defense in the league. We know that, but they have this massive ability to not allow the other team to score. So it's like, all right, if they just put up 3, we don't feel like, you don't have to outscore the opponent because you can hold them down. The Chargers are allowing 12 points a game and only 4.5 in the first half. So, and they stayed, a little bit above that, just 7 in the first half today. So, but all in all, I mean, they just don't allow a lot of points, and 17 is again above the average, but keeping right with it.
When you have a defense like that, the offense can buy time. The offense can buy time to really find themselves, find their rhythm, because you have a defense that is as great as the Chargers defense is and has been this far this season. As long as that's the case, the offense can stay patient. The defense is going to keep you in the games. The quarterback and what you have in him. He's going to be able to make plays with his legs and with his arms. So you can buy time. And so hopefully as we continue to go, season's winding down, obviously you want to hit your stride and keep running. Hopefully they'll find their stride soon enough.
All right, after the break, I want to get into the defensive performance because, as you said, it was true to form. But some surprises, like Joey Bosa, he played. Did you know that? Did you catch that Joey Bosa was on the field? Because it took me a while to find him. But he
quiet game.
And I guess Khalil Mack was active, but if he was active, I didn't see him. I missed it. So maybe
did he play? I don't know, because I said at the beginning of the game, I seen him with those wraps around his legs. That didn't look too promising to me.
Well, they said he was active, and I was like, okay, cool. I don't see him out there. So we'll get into all of that. He's Kenyon Barner and Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Chargers postcast as the LA Chargers up their record to 6-3 with 3 in a row. They're now 3-1 at home, 27-17 over the Tennessee Titans, who are now 2-7 and 1-4 on the road. We'll hit the break and come back and get into the defensive performance today. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app and play along, win big money, real money, over 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy accessible to all. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players from 2 different teams, and you have an opportunity to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. They have some really cool features on PrizePicks. Easy to deposit and almost easier to get withdrawals because they have hooked up with Venmo. So you get easy deposits. The withdrawals can happen within 15 minutes if you are lucky enough to win. And the other good news, PrizePicks is available in over 30 states, including California, Georgia, and Texas. If you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed, and PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25%. So get in on the action. Download the app, PrizePicks, or go to their website, prizepicks.com. That works as well. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You get $50 instantly off your first $5 lineup. Locked On NFL, $50 off your first lineup. $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Today's episode also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, and agonizing second overtimes, which is why they've created the Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are there well after the game is over celebrating. We see you. You know what else gives us energy? A win like the Chargers had today. That's 3 in a row for them and a massive defensive performance. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy, whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey for game day. The to-do list is a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to keep you fueled throughout the season. So check it out. 5hourenergy.com is the website, and it is shipped nationwide. All right, Chargers with a fairly comfortable, dominant win today. The Titans grabbed the lead in the first on a very nice touchdown play there to Calvin Ridley, who, quote unquote, is the fastest man in the NFL.
That blew my mind. That blew my. We talked about announcers before. Listen, sometimes it's better to say nothing at all than to talk out the side of your neck. We know who the fastest guys in the league are at that receiver spot. And I'm going to start right out there in Miami with Tyreek. we know this, but you know they got to do their job. They got to sell the game. So I guess we kind of go with it.
Well, we talked about Will Levis last week. He got back into the game, back on the field today, and I thought played pretty well. Ran the ball okay, 5 carries, 41 yards, threw the ball okay. I mean, he had a pretty decent day. His rating was 127, 18 of 23, 175 for 2 touchdowns. One of them came late in garbage time, but the pass to Calvin Ridley in the first was sweet. 40-plus yards.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was just too easy. I mean, the Chargers had no safety help at all, and the DB just got absolutely torched.
We got roasted.
But, hey, maybe it was a wake-up call, right? Like, we can't let we got to keep the safeties in there. We can't let the receivers get over the back on us because that's what happens. Evidently, Will Levis. And by the way, why isn't his name Levi's? Will Levi's. I mean, wouldn't that be cooler?
It's like, listen, it's like American English. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Wait, that's the same way you spell Levi's. It just has an apostrophe. I'm like, if I'm Will Levis, I'm like, no, I'm Will Levi's.
Levi. Make a correction. Go ahead and change it. Just go down to the courthouse and change it.
Right. Then
look,
he would have
talking about the defense. I want to give a shout out.
Real quick, in addition to the mayonnaise sponsorship, then he would have Levi's as well. So Levi's, it would be a win-win, right?
Bringing the money. I like it. I like it.
Well, who are you going to shout out there? Who did you like today?
I want to shout out Cam Hart. He's continually showing up in these past couple of games. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him, young pup, but out there making big plays. I think the future's really bright for him going forward, especially with the front 7 that they have. I think he could really be special if he keeps getting better.
Yeah, 4 tackles, 3 solos, but Daiyan Henly had another big game.
Another monster game.
Holy cow. I didn't know it was possible to have that many tackles in a game. 14 and then 11 solo.
11
Another
solo.
stat that came across the screen today that I thought was interesting. This I caught during the pregame was J.K. Dobbins is the third Charger to have 600 plus yards in the first 8 games with LT and Melvin Gordon. That's
Melvin Gordon. That's a great category to be in. That's great company right there. Shout out to JK. I'm so happy for that man. Just to see him enjoying football. We talked about this earlier in the season in those first couple of games. To see him out there healthy, being JK, performing, making guys miss, running through guys, getting in that end zone. It just does my heart good to see him out there.
So as far as the defense went today, as we said, Daiyan Henly had a day. Elijah Molden, 8 tackles, 4 solos. Those guys clearly led the way. Joey Bosa was in the game, got a sack. It came late. I don't know if he's probably not 100%, or maybe he's just not back to game speed yet, right?
I don't think he's 100%. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Joey hasn't been healthy in a long time. You know, he's been battling through injuries for a while now. So I think that kind of adds up. It kind of slows you down. But, you know, hopefully he can get back to form as we know him to be. But the D-line performance was right there with Dupree and with Thule. Those guys put on a performance. 1,000% performed.
The DBs today for me were not up to what we've expected from them of late. I thought things were a little too easy for the Titans at times. Again, they ratcheted down in the second half when they needed to. But at times I felt like I was watching early in the season when they were just playing too soft before they'd kind of figured out their defensive identity. And maybe they were just like, it's the Titans, you know, they were taking it a little bit.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but you kind of play down to the level of competition that you're playing. Maybe they were relaxed. Maybe they just thought this game would be easy, which it kind of turned out to be. But as a professional athlete, you got to come play every single day because you just don't know what's going to happen.
As far as the Titans running game, Spears, 7 touches, 47 yards. Tony Pollard looked good at times, 9 touches for 44 yards. And as we said, Will Levis, 5 carries for 41. But all in all, Chargers D, as you pointed out, did a nice job on the defensive line, limiting, especially in the red zone when they got down to it, which wasn't very often. They really they shut things down against the Titans there on offense. One of the other things, and I want your read on this, as we mentioned last week, it felt like to me when they gave the ball to JK and he bounced it outside, it was working better for him. I felt like the same thing was true today for Gus Edwards. When he bounced it outside, it was better. When they try to cram it down in between the tackles, you know, right up the middle, there's nothing there. Do you have to do that to set it up to bounce it outside?
Yeah, you can't just keep running outside. Then they're going to expect that. Then you start getting wide nines. Then it starts to get harder to get outside. They start setting their defense to combat your outside run. So you have to keep it balanced. You have to do both. But I will say, I thought the inside run for Gus was better than what it was for JK. I do agree with you with thinking that I do believe with JK it was better outside, but Gus was absolutely annihilating those guys running up the middle. He was breaking tackles, getting extra yards after contact. So I do believe the inside game was working, but you need the inside game to make the outside game work, just like you need the outside game to make the inside game work.
And you got to run the ball to throw it, right?
You got to run the ball to throw it.
Gus Edwards was working hard today. Banging it up the middle. He was very effective, 10 carries, 55 yards, a long of 11 yards. So it was nice to have him back. That was a comforting factor for sure. After the break, I want to talk about that strip sack ruling. That really was a game-changing call that went in favor of the Chargers. So we'll get into that after the break. He's Kenyon Barner. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Chargers podcast feed. Don't forget the Locked On Chargers podcast rather, is there every week, Monday through Friday, just like normal. So make sure you check those guys out as well. All right, this episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL right in the middle of the game. So when you get a hunch, when you feel like your team is rolling or falling apart, you check out the latest stats and see if your hunch is accurate, and then you view live play-by-play and so much more and take advantage of that hunch on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, Chargers come out on top, third week in a row, beating the Titans at SoFi 27-17. They're now 6-3 and 3-1 at SoFi. But a big play in this game that went in favor of the Chargers, and watching it in real time, I was like, ouch, that's not going to be good, because I believe that would have given the Titans a 1-point lead right there. I would have made it 14-13, but they reviewed it, and they came back and said that Herbie's arm was moving forward, although it wasn't up top. It was kind of a sidearm thing. I don't know. I mean, that is as tight as it gets right there.
He still had control of it. If you really looked at the replay, once the guy made contact with his arm, his hand was still on it, and it was the flick of the wrist. I will say that. So I don't think it was the wrong call. I mean, it's kind of hard for that to be a sack fumble and that ball go that far forward the way that it did without help from the quarterback. So I agree with the call. I know as the coach of the Titans, if I was a Titan player, I'd be pissed. I'd say, you're absolutely wrong. That's our ball. That's a touchdown. But when you look at that replay, like I said, it was the right call. It was the correct call.
How about Hassan Haskins? We haven't seen a lot from him getting up over the
in the
top
end zone, baby.
That seems like something you would do. Like you
Absolutely
like
not.
you didn't have the hops like that. You can't get up.
No, I can, but I wouldn't dare. Listen, I've seen people get decapitated jumping in the end zone like that. No, sir. Keep my feet on the ground. I'm more powerful when I got both feet on the ground. That's a big back type situation. I used to look at guys do that. I'm like, you just don't care about yourself. You don't. You can't. That's not for me. Let me run in, feet on the ground.
Drafted by the Titans as Haskins. He had 2 carries, 4 total yards, but got a touchdown. They gave it to him at the right time. Every time I see that over the top play, it just reminds me of football 30, 40 years ago. We used to see that like all the time. You don't see it so much anymore.
No,
yeah,
maybe
you're
really
right.
don't.
It's just not as safe a play anymore. But it reminded me of when I watched football in my younger days, because we would see that all the time. And I would always be like, as I've mentioned many times, I'm a huge fan of the naked bootleg because I feel like it always works. And that play seemingly works all the time too. If you have the ability to get up, if you have those hops, it's hard to defend. I just like let the guy jump over the top. It's not that
it's hard to defend. But you leave yourself open. Leave yourself open, whether it's you personally, your body, your physical, or it's the ball as you're trying to reach out to go over the goal line. So it's an exciting play. And if you got the hops, if you're Saquon Barkley, you could do that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they had everything working today. The offense, the defense. One of the things I really liked about this game is I felt there was a 12-round championship fight, evolution of the game, right? Not that the Titans are in a position to be in a heavyweight fight for a championship, but it felt like the Chargers were, counter punching for the first few rounds, trying to figure out what they were dealing with. And then by the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter, this is what I felt good about. That everything came together. So it was like we had it all working. They were throwing the ball. They were running the ball. The defense was better. They got the sacks. It like all came together in the fourth quarter. And I feel like that is what you want your team to do more often than not. When everything can come together, you can learn from the first half and then evolve in the second half. It's just a good spot to be in. And it says good things about your team, that we're moving in the right direction. We have an identity. We know who we are, and we are, gaining experience in the first half, making adjustments at halftime and coming out in the second half and, putting our foot on your throat and winning the game.
I completely agree, especially once you go back to the beginning of the game, how the game started. Both teams moved the ball rather effectively and rather easily on each other. And then as the game kind of went on, you've seen the Charger defense settle in. You've seen the D-line start making plays, the backers start coming. You've seen it all come together. Like you said, the pitcher started to come to completion, and by the end of the fourth, you get that victory. So that's exactly what you want to see from your team. You want to see that completion. You want to see the build-up, and you want to see them perform in crunch time. And the fourth quarter is what really matters in these games.
Yeah, they got Ladd McConkey involved again. He's the Chargers' leading receiver still. 2 catches, though, for 52 yards on the day. They got Quentin Johnston involved for a touchdown. And that last run that was capped with the Haskins touchdown over the top had 10 runs. Isn't that like an ideal run? Or, an ideal drive at the end of the game when you're just trying to salt away the victory? It's like we're just
4-minute football.
Down your throat.
4-minute football. When you have the game in hand, all we're going to do is run the ball. We're trying to kill that clock. But if we can score, we're going to go score. But that's exactly what you want. You want to. It's demoralizing when you know what a team is going to do. They're coming. It really is. You know they're trying to drain the clock. You know they're trying to run this clock out. You know they're going to run the ball, but you just can't stop it. It's that's perfect football in 4-minute drill.
Yeah, that's the joke about the Titans or any team that's down in the second half and they're running it down your throat. You start making business decisions late in that game. You're
Absolutely.
like, I don't know. Especially when Henry's on the other end, former Titan. When he's trying to run out the clock, you're like,
listen, people make business decisions with him early in the game.
I wish that Titans, as a guy who follows the Titans because my dad lives in Nashville, I'm like, why did they get rid of that guy? What the hell was that all about? As I mentioned, money. I don't know if I mentioned it to you or the guys in Kansas City. Was it money? Yeah. The Titans get all these great receivers who come to Tennessee. And the second they show up in Nashville, they become average or not even average. And then the Titans are like, they feel bad or guilty. And then they're like, all right, see you later. And then they let him go to better teams. Like B-Hop. Where's B-Hop? Did he end up in Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, well, here's Hopkins again. Like, why didn't we have that Hopkins in Nashville? No. That's not how it works. Henry was great during his time in Nashville, but like it's still great. It's not like he's done.
Yeah,
so
nothing at all. Far from it.
Sometimes they make foolish decisions off of the field and on the field. So
yes.
Well, they got a new coach over there, and hopefully it turns around for them. The Chargers seems to be going in the right direction so far. So good. The Denver Broncos lost today, so that puts the Chargers in second. They gave the Kansas City Chiefs a run for their money, but they blocked.
It was a good game, close game.
Yeah, they blocked.
That would have won the game. Won the game. Yeah.
Chiefs being Chiefs, right? Would you have expected it to go any other way?
Only undefeated team in the NFL.
Yeah. Chargers in second all alone now with the 6-3 record, and next week are on Sunday night. So we got a late game on NBC against the Bengals. That's going to be a good one because the Bengals are playing well in spite of a sub 500 record at 4-6. So we'll catch you guys next week. Right.
Before we go, I got a stat for you, Pete. Before we go.
Yeah.
We got to give it to the fans. This is the first time that the Chargers are 6-3 through 10 games since 2009. I think Herbie might have still been in junior high school.
Yeah. I remember my days covered the Chargers in San Diego. It seemed like every year they would get off to a slow start. And obviously they're always dealing with injuries, as they are again this year. But I feel like they're weathering the injury storm better this year. One guy goes
deeper.
down, back. Right, exactly. So next man up seems to be working better for them. So it's nice to see the things are going in the right direction. I feel like they got some winnable games ahead, including against the Bengals next week. So that'll be fun to see. Then it's Ravens and Falcons who are also playing well. So they got to get that Bengals win, because I don't think they're going to reel off 3 in a row against the Bengals, Ravens, and Falcons. That will be tough.
That would be a great 3-game span if they could do that.
Yeah, no kidding. But again, they don't even know about the Ravens and Falcons. There's only one game coming up, and that's against the Bengals, right? One at a time. One at a time.
One at a time. One game, one play at a time. One game, one play at a time. Hopefully next week, our DBs wake up, because Jamar Chase is not something you want to half step with.
Yeah, no doubt. And the Bengals are tough. And Joe Burrow, as I was mentioning, with Herbert being like 22nd in the league in yards and 19 in the league in completion percentage, Joe Burrow is the guy that's atop that list in most categories, or at least in the top 5. So he's the real deal. So it's going to be a good one next week. For Kenyon Barner, thanks, buddy. As always, good stuff today. I am Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Chargers postcast. We come on right after the game and break it down for you. A win today for the Chargers by 10 over the Titans, 27-17. They've won 3 in a row and are now 6-3. We will catch you guys next week for the Locked On Chargers postcast right here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Have a good night, everybody.
How was your weekend?